we have Penn State and SMU playing at 11 a.m. At Penn State. Both teams are coming in 11-2. So let's get into kind of their resumes and what makes up this matchup. Yeah, like I said, both teams are 11-2. Both teams played in their conference championships last weekend and lost, or 2 weeks ago and lost. So they've had one extra game. So there's not really an advantage or disadvantage in this one since they both played that extra game. SMU kind of had that drop off. They were projected to be the 3 seed going in, get upset by Clemson. So now they're playing on the road instead of having a first round bye. Want to see how their team is able to handle that, kind of flip the mindset, going from the home team to, being on the road in the cold. I think it's supposed to be 20-ish degrees at kickoff, so it should be nice and chilly for those Texas boys. Penn State, we're definitely the underdog going to their championship game. They played a heck of a matchup. They put up more points than most people probably thought they would have against Oregon. Made it a tight one. So we'll see if they come into this with a little bit of a letdown, or if they're able to build off that offensive performance and kind of channel that into this game here against SMU. This is one of the first round matchups where you get to see the first major disparity in strength of schedule. Penn State with a top 30 strength of schedule, and then SMU with 57th. So we'll be able to really see here if, playing a Big Ten schedule versus an ACC schedule, if that makes Penn State the better team, or if you can build just as good of a team and play in the ACC and your strength of schedule is what it is. You can't really choose your opponents every year. So I think that's one thing to watch for me in this one. Keys for the game for me on this one is going to be Penn State's rushing attack versus SMU's passing attack. So for Penn State, they rushed for over 300 yards against Oregon. Against Maryland, they had over 200. And then in their closest game as of late, they had just about 117 against Minnesota. That was just a 1-point victory for them. SMU, against Clemson, they gave up 64 yards on the ground. Cal, 95. And then against Virginia, 65. So over that same game period, SMU's holding opponents under 100 yards rushing. And then in the one game where Penn State was held close to 100 yards rushing, they had just that 1-point victory, 2-point victory. So it's really, I think that is why it's a key for me in this one, is if Penn State is able to run the ball and I think get close to the 200-yard or over number, definitely I feel like that'll be a key for Penn State to kind of get ahead in this one. But if SMU is able to hold them close to that 100-yard number like Minnesota did, I think SMU is a better offense than Minnesota. So I think if they can hold Penn State down and force them under 100 yards, try to beat them through the air, I think if it becomes that kind of matchup where they're throwing the ball down the field, both teams trying to air it out like they did Penn State against Oregon, I think that definitely favors SMU. Now, my key for SMU was their passing game. So last 3 games, Clemson, Cal, and Virginia all had over 300 yards through the air. For Penn State, last 3 games, Oregon, Maryland, Minnesota, they gave up 280 to Oregon, then under 200 for the next 2, 150 and 175. So for comparison, Oregon has the 20th ranked passing offense in yards per game. SMU is the 13th. So I think just for little comparison, I think they both possess the ability to really throw the ball through the air with some success. So we'll see if SMU is able to dissect the Penn State defense in a similar level that Oregon did. So I think SMU needs to get to that 300 number again, probably more than 300, in order for them to have success in this one. If they're able to get over 300, I think that'll show that they're able to really move the ball and kind of pass against and also protect the quarterback, give them time, run their offense the way they want to, will be a good indicator. It will also force Penn State to play a style of football that they don't usually play. They did get in a shootout with Oregon, and it was a closer game than most people would have predicted. But it's not, I don't think it's a style of football that they want to play. They would much rather, which is why it was my key, really kind of control the ball, run the ball on the ground, and let their defense play from a lead and kind of shorten the game by running the ball. So I think if SMU can get over that 300 number, I think that tilts it in their favor. Now for Penn State, I think if they can hold them at 200 or less, probably around that 150 number, 175 like they did with Minnesota and Maryland, I think that'll definitely tip it towards the Nittany Lions. And this one, it comes down to, I think I like SMU's ability to throw the ball, even in the cold weather, and create some explosive plays. I also like their defense to get in there. They've shown in the last 3 weeks that they can hold opponents under 100 yards rushing. I think that'll be key. If they force Penn State to get into a run and gun kind of shootout matchup with SMU, I think that's really going to lean it towards SMU, which is why I have the Mustangs to go in there and pull off the upset against Penn State and advance to play Boise State in the next round.